going to get started and people can jump in as they please. So I appreciate you joining us on a Thursday evening. No, it's a Wednesday evening to talk about the Northwest Entrepreneur Competition in this Prep Your Pitch series. So I'm going to go through, but my name is Ryan Arnold. I'm the Regional Director of Entrepreneurial Strategy at North Idaho College. Here's my contact information, but we'll provide all of this later on in the presentation and at the end as well. And I wanted to send a big thank you to the Herbert B. Jones Foundation that supports the Northwest Entrepreneur Competition as our educational champion sponsor. The Herbert B. Jones Foundation has been sponsoring this event for quite a few years as our main champion, and without them, we couldn't do it. So a big shout out to them and some of the other sponsors that really put this together with this management team. So I'm going to give you sort of an overview real quickly of this competition for those that haven't been involved with it, but we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the details, how you compete, what we're looking for, and the whole process. But I just thought it'd be interesting for a lot of our new competitors to know this is one of the longest standing entrepreneurial events that we have in the Inland Northwest. It's been going on for about 15 years now. And before North Idaho College, and I'll introduce the Spokane University District as our co-partners, had taken this over. It was managed by Gonzaga University and Whitworth University before us. So this is our second year as a management team managing this event. And we typically attract over the decade plus that we've been doing this, 50 to 100 teams that have competed each spring. And they come from different higher education institutions. So this is a intercollegiate competition by design, where University of Washington and a few other campuses, they actually have their own competitions that welcome other campuses to compete. This one is made exclusively for all of us to compete on an equal playing field. So it is hosted by North Idaho College now, but really at the end of the day, this is about a competition that's for all of us, and that's the way we like to frame it. We typically award $42,000 to $44,000 a year in prize money, and as we've designed this, this is really an additional way for you as a student to get feedback, to gain ideas, and to win extra award money along the way. So I mentioned that about 2 years ago, North Idaho College and the Spokane University District started managing this competition on behalf of our communities. And what we really like to see is that, us, North Idaho College, representing North Idaho, we sit on the what we call the North Idaho Higher Education Corridor, which represents about 5 colleges and universities in the Idaho region. And the Spokane University District in downtown Spokane represents between 6 and 7 colleges and universities. And so overall, we represent about 11 colleges and universities that compete within this competition each year. And last year we took it over, looking forward to doing a big event, but due to COVID-19, this event is all now virtual, and we'll continue that again this year. So we'll go into what the details about competing in a virtual event and how it's a different platform, but we hope it's a rewarding experience that opens it up in a different way to a lot of these campuses that otherwise would have to travel to Spokane or to Coeur d'Alene to compete. So to go over what we're going to do tonight and what I hope is valuable for you as potential competitors is real quickly the management team, but then get into the categories and award money. So why, one of the reasons why you hope to compete and to actually win some money for your idea, eligibility requirements, the timeline and roadmap, and then we'll get into format, the rubric, and then deadlines, submission rules, and advancing to the next round. And then I want to provide just some extra resources and thoughts from the NEC management team about how we think about this and how, as a previous judge to this competition and to others, how I think about what a good presentation encapsulates and what you should maybe think about as you put yourself into a judge's position, watching you present. So again, my name is Ryan Arnold. I'm the Regional Director of Entrepreneurial Strategy at North Idaho College. So I have a really fun role here, including managing the NEC. And then my associate, Sam Kester, who's behind the scenes with us tonight, helps me with about everything that we do here, including the NEC competition. And he'll be your main touch point if you had questions regarding submission processes or anything else. If you submit anything to the NEC, either Sam's going to get it first or I am. Our other counterpart is Lars Gilberts, who is the CEO of the Spokane University District, which really rounds out sort of this intercollegiate and sort of two-state region that we hope to represent. And so we've been working together for about a year and some change, managing this competition as we took it over from Whitworth University. So to dive in really to what you want to know, which is about the competition and how to compete, there's three ways that we typically kind of break out the competition, and we're going to continue with that this year. The traditional business category, the technology category, and the open business category. And as far as reward money goes, each category has a top prize of $10,000, a second of $3,000, and a third prize of $1,000. This has been traditionally, over at least since I've been involved in the last 5 years or so, the typical award money, but we've actually added some extra things that I'll talk to you about in a little bit. I want to thank Avista and Perkins Coie, who sponsor these categories and help us with providing award money for your student ideas to go forward. So we appreciate it and couldn't do it without them as well. So for the competition categories, there's the three categories, but there's also this year the People's Choice Award. And this is something new, and it'll make more sense as we go through the timeline over this spring, how you'll compete in the different kind of sections and levels of the competition. When you get to the semifinals, we've whittled it down to 9 competitors that'll be eligible for this final round. And the public will be allowed to then view your videos and to vote online at our website and basically vote for their favorite pitch. So voting will start March 20th after the semifinals are done and the finals are announced. And that's your opportunity to share your video with friends and family on whatever social media accounts that you're active on, and to win additional award money. So this would be on top of what you hope to win in the finals category. So we just wanted to provide that extra bonus and also make it something that's tangible. Because we're online, we don't get to do this big event in person, but we really want to bring people in and to draw attention that this is a large community event. We typically, if we're doing this in person, have over 100 people that join us for the awards ceremony, and we want them to be there for you as well. So I hope that if you make it that far, and even if you don't, but still want to kind of witness what the presentations ended up being at the very end, that you join in for the final category, and it's on April 15th. So when we talk about the competition itself and you kind of looking where you should place yourself, we gave you 3 categories, right? The traditional business category, the technology category, and the open category. Common questions right off the bat. Where do I put myself? There's some guidelines around where businesses most likely would fit based on what you're doing. But a lot of times we run into businesses that could fit in multiple categories and have to make a choice. So things to ask yourself: are you location dependent, or are you an organization or a company or a product that can basically go anywhere? Is your company scalable? So scalable meaning that a lot of our regional companies, they focus here in the Inland Northwest on serving a specific customer. It doesn't make sense to sell them or sell their product or to scale that business globally, but they can make an impact here locally. So we think about scalability when we're selecting where businesses can go. Do you have intellectual property? Is there something that's either copyright or patent protected, or possibly in the future copyright or patent protected, that you could focus on within your business? Who are your customers? Where do your strengths lie? And when we talk about the open category, and we'll get into these details, do you have any grad students or community members on your team? This is traditionally an undergrad competition, but we do have one category that allows for some flexibility. And I'll talk about what that flexibility is and how you can decide if the open category is right for you. So when we get into the categories themselves, there's 3 different ways to compete. The traditional business category is one that really suits small businesses, products, or services. And what I think the neat thing about the NEC is that no matter what business idea you have, we're trying to provide an equal playing field for you to compete. So in the traditional business category, we've seen coffee shops compete here, or welding businesses, things that are serving your local community, but maybe have a specific niche or unique idea that really backs that business concept. So teams that do well in this category typically solve a unique problem for their community, their region, or a specific industry. So maybe it's not location specific, but it's industry specific. They have an idea that can be scaled locally, so it's not limited to the growth potential, but most likely it's going to be a small business or a mid-sized business. And they can have an innovative delivery process, but they probably won't have intellectual property, right? So a small business that's making a product or good that's going to be, maybe sold at a regional or national or global level is really creative, but maybe it doesn't have IP. That would be a great place for it to compete in the traditional business category. And you can tell us about your business idea, how you're going to scale that, and how you're really going to leverage that idea, and who your market is. So it gets down to that pitch, and we'll go over the pitch concepts. Examples that include but are not limited to, just to give you a reference, again, local retail brick and mortar stores compete well in this category. Service-based company that aren't tech related, consumer industry specific products. So we're not talking about the next iPhone, but maybe you have an idea for something that makes an industry problem or challenge more bearable. Can you compete here? I would say yes, this is a good place for you to go. Or you're a nonprofit or you're an impact-based company. So something that doesn't have a product, it's maybe service-based, but really your focus, your unique advantage is solving a community or global problem through kind of a nonprofit model. So those all fit here. When we get to technology, this is the other undergrad category that focuses on a technology, product, or process that relies most likely on intellectual property. Teams that do well in this category leverage a new digital or physical technology, or maybe a combination of both, right? To be innovative and solve a unique problem. They utilize a new online application like a software as a service or SaaS platform, or they're another digital product that can be scaled globally. Or finally, they've developed technology, product, or process that has some sort of intellectual property behind it. And I would say also, even if you don't have a patent or a copyright, if you believe there's potential there, even if you're just in the idea stage and you haven't even scoped out how to get to that final idea and to really get it done, if you can prove the concept is something that's viable and really talk to us about that business idea, it can compete here even if you don't have a patent or a copyright. The limitation that I want to just differentiate, and this gets into the difference between the technology category and the open category, is that if you're working with a university, so I saw some of us from University of Idaho that do research, right? Licensed or university-derived IP cannot compete in this category. You really need to be in the open category because it's going to be linked to work that's outside of undergrad work. And that's where we want to focus the open category. So back to technology real quickly. Examples that do well here: software-based companies, business to consumer products or services that utilize technology, or business to business organizations that solve an industry challenge with technology. So traditional and technology business categories have the same eligibility. So think of these both as the undergrad categories. They must all be comprised of all undergraduates or high school team students. So we allow high schools to compete in the NEC competition, and some years they do really great. We've got some really competitive high school students out there, so we welcome them to compete with the undergrads as well. But you either have to be all undergrads or all high school students, or that mix of both, and they have to be in good standing from a school from Idaho or Washington during this year. If you're going to compete in these categories, your venture concept must be developed during the student's tenure. So it can't be something that you've worked on for years and suddenly you brought into the classroom. We really want this to be something that's coming out of the classroom, or maybe the entrepreneurship program that you're involved in, or the engineering program, or whatever school you might be involved in at your college or university. The ventures must represent the original work of their team, and ventures with no more than 50,000 revenue are excluded. So we really want new ideas coming from the work you may already be doing with your college or university. And finally, they can be profit or nonprofit. For us, it doesn't matter. We're just interested in your idea and how you present it. The other category, the third one, is the open business category. And this is open actually to all business ideas and welcomes a mix of teams that high school, undergraduate, graduate, and community members can be on these teams as well. So again, open meaning we're open to any idea that fits in this category that maybe thinks it can compete here. So teams that would do well in this category are typically partnered with graduate students, community members, and or have faculty research involved in some sort of way. So this category can get more complex, but at the same time, sometimes it's good to compete here because you think you have an advantage. We're okay with that. So I would say that all undergraduate teams can compete here as well. That's maybe one thing I didn't underline is you can be an all undergraduate team, and instead of being in the tech or small business category, you can choose to be in the open category if you think it's a wise decision to compete here instead. Typically, teams are tackling a complex community or global issue that utilizes a community partnership or is university-led research or technology. So examples we've seen in the past are small and scalable businesses that partner with these outside organizations. They're undergraduate teams that utilize university research or graduate students, and any qualifying team that feels it'd be advantageous to compete here. And those reasons can be up to you, but if for some reason you think I would rather compete here than the tech category, and you meet all the qualifications, it's a way for you to sort of advance your idea. The team requirements for the open business category, again, teams must be comprised of at least one graduate or undergraduate or high school student in good standing. So you have to have at least one student on your team. You cannot be 100% community members unaffiliated with the school or university. So that's the one thing, if you're working an idea and you're here tonight and you're not associated with the university, but you want to bring a student onto your team, we would welcome that concept. But the thing you must remember is what we want to do is make sure the award money goes to students. That's part of the mission and goals of the NEC. So all award money must be awarded to eligible students if you have a mix of team partners. So you can partner with a community member. We welcome that. But at the end of the day, if you win the competition, that award money will be directed towards the team member or members that are associated with the college and universities. Just like the other categories, they must be original work. They can't have raised $50,000 or more already, and they can be for-profit or nonprofit. So there's a lot of other details, but those are the main ones to think about as you're sort of getting into category descriptions and eligibility. All of our eligibility guidelines are on the website, nwontrep.com. And again, you're always welcome to email us. We're here for basically you. We're doing this as an opportunity to win more award money and to allow you to get more feedback and the opportunity to pitch your idea. So if you have suggestions or comments, questions about this process, we're happy to chat with you about it. Things about the format this year, the changes from 2020 to 2021. It's 100% virtual. So no matter where you're joining us from tonight, we have teams that compete from University of Washington, from Boise State, and then here regionally in the Inland Northwest. It doesn't matter, you're not gonna have to travel this year, which is a nice benefit. We'll be doing everything over the Zoom platform. And we're transitioning from really a business plan competition, which is what this competition's been in the past, to a business pitch competition in 2021. There's a few reasons why. I'll go over that, but I think overall it's where a lot of our educational institutions are already going, and we want to mirror that. We want to be an experience that doesn't add extra work to your plate, that allows you to get that feedback while you're already doing some of this work. The first and second round will be an elevator pitch, and I'll explain what that is. The teams will have 90 seconds to get your point across and to convince judges to move you to the next round. There's some unique things about an elevator pitch that you have to think about that would be different than maybe a 5 or 10 minute presentation. And that's what we're hoping to create multiple experiences this year as you compete through the NEC. The final round will be the investor pitch. And teams will have 5 minutes to pitch their idea, and then they'll get time with the judges for Q&A. So when we break this out, the difference between the 90-second elevator pitch and the 5-minute investor pitch, and why we sort of did two different things this year. One, when you're competing in the real world, we want you to have the sort of experience of pitching your idea in sort of this fast concept model. Right off the bat, if you're looking to raise money for your business idea, you're probably not going to get an open door to a room of investors right away to get that big presentation. You're going to be pitching this to family, to friends, to anybody that'll be listening to you. And to really get that into a succinct package is the goal of an elevator pitch. So it's a realistic opportunity for you to open doors. And the better you can pitch this up front in this tight package, the better it is for you down the road to maybe open those doors to get to that investor pitch round. I think it brings clarity through constraints. So a 90-second pitch is hard. Personally, I just went through a pitch competition and competed for my school with a different organization. And I had a 90-second pitch I had to do personally for a project we wanted to get funded. It was hard, and it took me a long time to really narrow down those words and to use them precisely. And happy to kind of admit that we won some money, so that was good, but it's not easy. So don't think of the 90-second pitch to be an easy step. It's really, I think, a lot harder to get your idea into that package, but it'll be more beneficial to you down the road as you start to scale and put framework on it as you get to an investor pitch. For us, it balances the focus of information and delivery. So you'll see in the rubric how we're rating this. When you're doing a 5-minute pitch, you can deliver a lot of information. And at the same time, you have a big delivery that you have to deliver that package with. If you don't get that balance right, your pitch is sort of out of whack. And so the 90-second pitch sort of, I don't know, streamlines that down. And we'll get into how we're looking at that. For us, it leaves no room to hide. What we saw with previous NEC competitions when we're doing pitches and they're submitting videos is a lot of teams would hide behind a PowerPoint that's narrated and we never get to see their face, or an animation. And for us, we want to see you pitch. That's what the connection between you and the judge is about. And so this 90-second pitch is really limited. We want to see you on camera talking to us, not hiding behind, your ability to create an animation or a PowerPoint or whatever else is a crutch. And it really just levels the presentation playing field in that respect. When you get to the 5-minute investor pitch, what we're looking for is a situation that's more realistic if you're going to ask for money. You are not going to get $10,000 from a real investor on a 90-second pitch at a coffee shop, right? That's a much more in-depth conversation. So as we scale through this process, we want to provide you sort of that opportunity to do both, the 90-second and the 5 minutes. It positions your team to build on your ideas. It allows you to show your additional talents. So here in the 5-minute, you can do your PowerPoint, you can do your animation, you can showcase things you couldn't in the 90 seconds. And it aligns your work with the it aligns the work that you're putting into the NAC with the opportunity. What we wanted to clarify this year is that a lot of teams put a lot of work into the first couple rounds, but end up not having the chance to compete at the very end. So we sort of framed this that your work grows as you get farther into the competition, but we have a really low barrier to entry because we want you to compete early. We want you to get feedback. So if we're looking at the chart of progression, we are in open round right now. So the NEC is open for your intents to submit or for your full submission right now. So you can go to our website and submit your information, whether it's the intent to submit, and I'll explain what that is, or if you're going to send your full package with your 90-second video, you can get that in right now. And we're open until February 26th. After that, we'll look at those videos and we'll narrow down to 30 teams for the second round. And that second round will conclude by March 19th. So that's the online semifinals. And in the online semifinals, what you'll be doing is a live pitch. The first one was a recorded pitch. This one is a live pitch in front of judges on Zoom. And you'll be allowed a few things of accompanying material. I can give you those details, but we don't want a full written executive summary. This is something that complements your pitch. So something that judges can have in hand, but it's not distracting. So maybe it's a schematic of a product that you're hoping to design, but wanted to really showcase, what that looks like because you couldn't verbalize it correctly. Something of that sort. And we have some things on our website that showcase what that would look like. And then finally, you go through a Q&A with the judges in the second round. If you make it to the third round, on March 20th, we'll announce the third round contestants. We'll have 9 teams advance. So all 9 teams, if you remember the awards, will receive money on April 15th. So if you make it to round 3, you're guaranteed to get some cash at the end of the process. This will be the investor round where you'll have a 5-minute live pitch. You'll have your executive summary you'll be allowed to submit. Accompanying material you're allowed to kind of clean up and edit for your final round and submit to judges. And then you'll do your judges Q&A. So that's the process. Excuse me for a sec. That's the process of the competition this year. 3 different rounds. Open submission is right now, and we need submissions in by February 26th for you to be eligible to go to the second and then the third round. The rubric itself has changed this year as well. We really tried to clarify the rubric and to focus it into 2 different sections. There's 7 kind of mini sections, and then they're each equally weighted at 4 points for 28 total points available in the rubric. There's two sections, which is the presentation content, and that's 20 of 28 points, and the presentation delivery. So the presentation content has these 5 sections: the hook and the intro, goals for your solution, the target market, the competitive advantage, and the closing. The presentation delivery has the clarity and impact. So the rubric looks like this. It's a 1-pager. You can download it right now on any nwontrep.com or email us at Venture and we can email it to you as well. So we want you to have this in hand as you're building your presentation, know exactly what the judges are looking for. So to go through these sections real quick, the hook and the intro, what the judges are being prompted on. The problem, need, opportunity is clearly explained, and the significance is evident. So the video and the speakers' names and faces are presented clearly. So we want to know who you are, and the things that we want to have you think about is, are you enthusiastic right off the bat? A presentation is about human connection, so enthusiasm counts. Do you get the point across clearly and effectively? Do you maintain eye contact with the camera, and are you authentic? And I think authenticity really counts. I got to judge a presentation competition 2 days ago, and even if your personality range is quiet or introverted, or if you're really out there, if you play to your own strengths, I think that's a real benefit. If you try to be somebody you're not, that's going to come across. Judges can recognize that. So I would say practice being yourself. Know who you are. Don't read off a script. Really memorize your pitch. 90 seconds is just tough enough, but it is doable to really understand your 90-second pitch and to present it clearly. And remember, first impressions can make the presentation. So take the time in the recording. I know when I did my presentation and competed recently, I probably did 50, 60 recordings, honestly, to get that right, that whole 90 seconds from start to finish. It took a long time, but it counts if you're trying to advance and you're really serious about this process. And the process is the educational opportunity to learn along the way. The second section of content, goal for solution. The judges are looking for a detailed explanation of their proposed solution and a convincing statement of how it provides value for the customer area given. So things to think about: does the solution connect and solve the problem? I've seen a lot of presentations that have a solution that doesn't connect to the problem. I've seen a lot of presentations that have a solution and they've solved it, but it doesn't say anything about the problem whatsoever. So you need to figure out how to really make that connection between the two. If your solution's complex, can you think about examples? So we always hear the Uber for X, right? But I always think about the judges and trying to explain an idea to my own mother or grandmother or my own father, people that aren't in maybe a tech industry. You really need to break it down for them. And the more real life examples or tangible examples that they can relate to, the better. Your judges are going to come from a wide range of experiences and backgrounds. So don't assume they know what your acronyms are. Don't assume they have a tech background and know what SaaS is. So really take the time to break that down and make the idea as simple as possible, even if it's complex. And then, is your solution feasible and realistic? I mean, that counts. So again, judges may not have a background in your industry, so use your common verbiage, and your value proposition is the focal point of your business. So for your target market, what the judges are looking for is the intended audience is well defined, identified, and the market is used or use base is qualified. So things to think about as you're formatting and practicing your pitch. Who's going to buy your solution? Is it the same people that are going to use it, right? And this is sort of the Facebook model. Who pays for Facebook? Us as users, we really don't. It's the advertisers. but who's the customer in that situation? So you need to really differentiate those as you're talking about your business model, your plan. Do you have validation or feedback from your target market? So we hear a lot of pitches at the NEC and at other competitions I've been involved with where they make a lot of assumptions about their target market without ever talking to them. Don't make that mistake, because it's one of the first things judges will ask if they have a question is, have you talked to your target market? Does this solution make sense? And how will you access your target market? I feel like a lot of times I hear social media is going to be the way we're going to access our target market. That's a feasible way to do it, but it's not the only way. So think about it as a business to business product. Social media is probably not going to be your best way. So really dive into how you're going to connect to that target market, because it counts and judges will notice. Remember, your target market is not everyone. I had a presenter 2 days ago sort of tell me their target market's everybody that would come near their business, right, as a brick and mortar. That's probably not the correct answer, because you're looking to market to a specific audience, and there's only a certain amount of people that are interested in your product or service. And without direct target marketing or feedback, your solution is just an assumption. So again, talk to your target market, figure out what they really need. Section 4 is the competitive advantage, and the judges are looking for understanding of the competition and its shortcomings, the credibility of the proposed solution, and qualifications of the team to indicate a strong potential for success. So the things to think about are really, what does your team's strength come from? You're going to have a mix of people that you're working with, and each one of them is going to have a strength. And I really think that's critical to highlight for us as judges of what sets you apart. Is there intellectual property that can protect you from competition? Why should judges believe that your team can execute? And that gets back to, what are your strengths? So remember, to understand your competition goes hand in hand with understanding your target market and your value proposition. And a solution is only viable for the right team. So make sure your judges understand why that's you. Again, a lot of people can have a lot of great ideas, but execution is what judges are really interested in. And can your team convince the judges that you can execute on this idea? Section 5 is about the closing. This is still about content. So not necessarily just a witty closing statement, but the cost of the next steps. Lead us out there. You've told us about your idea, the target market, the solution, but tell us what you're going to do next. What sort of money you need? What are the retail costs, the pricing? We're not asking you to do a full financial plan, but we really want you to showcase that you understand the ramifications of this business model and how you're going to plan for it. So things to think about are, what are the next steps or the roadmap to achieve your solution, and what do you need to get there? So tell us. If you have a monetary ask, it's not required in the 90-second pitch. Is there something else I can help with? Sorry, my Siri went off on my watch. It's not necessary to ask for a specific amount of money, but if you have something that you've defined and you've really done research in, I'm okay with you talking about, we're looking for X amount of dollars to showcase you understand how much this is going to cost and what the impact would be. And remember that good stories have a defined beginning, middle, and end. And that's the one thing that you can come out with a really great hook at the beginning. Make good eye contact, make a connection with your audience. But if you run out of time on a 90-second pitch, it's going to show. Don't let the buzzer run out. Really, stick the landing and make sure you're talking to your audience and you have that final sort of say about what you want to talk about. As we get into the delivery, this is about clarity. So what judges are looking for is speakers are polished and delivering techniques that make the presentation understandable and engaging. So to point, don't read your pitch. It's 90 seconds. You guys, you should know this, right? You should practice it. You should get it down. It's okay to have notes. It's okay to have some things out there to hold on to if you get lost. But in a 90-second pitch that you're recording, you should have practiced it enough that you can probably say this verbatim in your sleep. We want to get you to that point. So the point being is that when you run into somebody out there and they ask you about your idea in the real world, you know your idea, back and forth. So that's the goal. 90 seconds is tight. Every word counts. We're asking you to put a lot of information in here. So you're going to try to present it, I guarantee, the first round, and you're going to be like a 2-minute pitch or a 250. And then you're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna whittle down to get to 90 seconds. And the point being of this whole process in round one is to record, to iterate, to improve, and to repeat. It's a hard process to get it down to 90 seconds in something that's impactful. Remember, do not exceed your 90 seconds. We will disqualify teams that go over their 90-second submission, so that's a critical part of this puzzle. You'll not be judged on your video and audio quality. So that's the one thing that we want to make the hierarchy flat here. We understand not everybody has the new iPhone 12 or has access to a fancy web camera, but regardless, I think there's plenty of things you can do to make sure your audio quality is good, to make sure you don't have background noise, that you've cleared some of the clutter behind you. Things that really help your presentation stand out are things that are often free. So we want you to make sure that you're thinking about that. We've had presentations in the past where we've not been able to hear anything they say, that the audio quality is so bad that we had to toss their presentation. So make sure you're spending time thinking about that, how it comes across. We don't judge you on the point scale, but it does leave an impact and an impression with judges if we can't hear your presentation. And finally, the last part of the rubric is section 7 on impact. So what judges are looking for is the presentation inspires or holds attention, the pitch is persuasive, informative, and makes the audience interested and act to learn more. And that's really the goal of a 90-second pitch, right? It's for them to really want to hear more. They want to take you on to the next round, and they're interested in what your ideas are and to extrapolate on those ideas. The judges understand that 90 seconds is an impossible time limit to explain everything you know about your idea. We get that. What we want you to do is to lead us on enough that we're so interested, we have to invite you to the next round to hear more, right? We have to get you to Q&A. And so that's really the goal of the open, is for you to really pique the curiosity of the judges, to be clear in your delivery, and to make an impact on us. So after we're done watching 50 to 100 of these videos and judging through them, that we remember you. And that's where you can be unique. Be your unique self, bring your unique abilities and talents or humor through. All of those are viable things in a 90-second pitch. So submissions. Your intent to submit, we are open for intent to submit applications right now on the website. And one of the things that we want to encourage is for you to register early. So if you register before January 31st, we're going to do a drawing for a $200 gift card. And what we hope is that you can use this for maybe audio-visual equipment. So if you want to, up your game as far as your audio or maybe a new webcam, you could use this gift card to purchase something like that. Team swag. If you want to match your team and look professional, there's an opportunity there, or maybe just even snacks to keep you all going while you're presenting. So for us, what it really helps is now we have a contact for you. We know you're here tonight, but we want to be able to update you with things that might change along the way, with resources for your presentation. And so submitting your intent to submit is really just giving us your name, your team information, where you're from, and so we know you're interested in competing. You can submit your whole submission now, your whole 90 seconds. Submit your whole submission or just your intent, you're eligible for the gift card if you're eligible under all the eligibility guidelines for the competition. The open round will close on February 26th. So that is the deadline when you have to get your actual video in. So you can do your intent to submit today, just to let us know you're interested, and then get us the video by February 26th. We'll send you a link from Sam Kester, my assistant, and you can submit through an email, or you can resubmit through the website later on. Again, videos can't be longer than 90 seconds or they'll be disqualified. There's some file types we're looking for so we can combine all these things together. And videos must be of team members. So again, please no visuals, PowerPoints, animations. We want to see from you. We want to connect to you. We want to see your face. So please just like you're talking to us, right? That's what the 90-second elevator pitch is about. Advancing to the next rounds as we sort of wrap up. If your team advances to the live pitch, March 4th is where the 30 teams will be announced. March 16th is when accompanying materials will be asked for the NAC, and March 18th is when the 90-second live pitch will be with Q&A. So if you're making it past the open, these are the dates to mark them in your calendar. And if your team advances to the investor round, March 19th is when we'll announce those teams, the day after the March 18th semifinals. March 20th is when the viewer choice opening will start. So we'll be releasing the videos from your semifinals, putting them up on our website, allowing you to share them, and you can have your friends and family come and vote and hopefully win you some extra money. April 9th is our summer materials that we need for you to submit so our judges can look over those ahead of time. And then April 15th is your big presentation. And we'll be doing these live on Zoom so people can tune in and watch while you're presenting and see the awards ceremony on April 15th as well. So kind of final thoughts to wrap this up. For me, Steve Jobs did a pretty good quote. I'm not a huge Steve Jobs fan, but he hits it on the head here. Focus and simplicity. Simple can be harder than complex. You have to work hard to get your thinking clean and to make it simple, but it's worth it in the end because once you get there, you can move mountains. And that's how we really think about the 90-second pitch that you're thinking about, submitting on. It's tough, even though it's so simple. And that's what we want you to think about is don't just throw a 90-second you talk into the camera with something you've just thought off the top of your head. Put some time into it, because if we're going to have the same competition we had as last year where we had over 100 teams submit, it's going to be competitive. But the competitors are the ones that put the time and the effort of really clarifying their vision, of practicing their pitch, and to really getting it down. So what it takes, this is not on the rubric, this is just my opinion, to be clear, define your problem and showcase your solutions advantage. There's been so many presentations I've listened to and my teammates have that they did great, but they didn't tell us how they were going to solve a problem. They told us how they were going to run a business, but they didn't link those things together. Be concise. 90 seconds is tough, so polish that delivery and be strategic in all your words. And be convincing. Create curiosity and grab their attention. We've limited, again, you can't do animations or PowerPoints. We're looking to hear from you directly, but you can convince us in a lot of different ways through your personality and your connection to camera that you're the right team to go forward. So resources, what I wanted to point out, these are sort of unofficial resources, but in a 90-second pitch, there's a parallel universe, and it's the business model canvas, the lean model canvas. And if you're a student in an entrepreneurship program, you may be using this already. The lean model canvas and business model canvas are a one-pager about your big business idea. So we used to do big business plans, and you may still do some of that work, but the lean model canvas is distilling that down into a one page. So if you're really interested in competing, I would suggest maybe doing a lean model or a business model canvas first. And they're just two very similar things called different things. Two different companies produce them, but it's a one-page sheet. You can download it online. And what it allows you to do is write in sort of your 90-second pitch and to framework it. The 7 key components of a perfect elevator pitch was a video I found that's not produced by us, but I think does a nice job of explaining what an elevator pitch is and how to really link into that so you produce a good NEC pitch. And then make a great pitch, the 10-20-30 rule. Guy Kowalski, this is sort of a classic one. I think the video's from maybe 2001 or 2004. And it doesn't really sync up, I would say, with our format, but it gives you an idea of how people in the Bay Area think about real investor pitches. And so the 10-20-30 rule is a classic example of how people think about simplicity in a pitch and how you should think about presenting it, in this competition or maybe some other one in the future. Regional resources, just if you need somebody to lean on to look at your pitch or to provide feedback, I'm happy to do that, or one of my teammates are. So if you're interested in doing a one-on-one, if you have questions about the NAC, or if you want to do a dry run, I'm open to that to provide feedback. I won't produce a score and I won't give you any hints or tips or tricks, but I will be an honest feedback mechanism for you to kind of get ready for that pitch. So if you're interested in that, I'm happy to schedule a time with you. Ignite Northwest is a regional organization out of Spokane, and they do first pitch events, and they have all sorts of investor connections and resources. So they're a partner with us in this program. And if you're not familiar with what they do, check it out, because there's a lot of opportunities for our potential entrepreneurs out there to connect. And then the WSU Center for Innovation is just another example. April Needham and her team, they do business model coaching and long-term assistance. So I would think of them after the NAC. What do you do next? And there's a host of resources and support out here regionally that are here to support you in your idea. So just some ideas for you as you're going forward. And that's it in a nutshell. That's the NEC. That's what you're hopefully looking forward to competing in. I'm happy to take questions. If anybody has questions about what we're up to, how you can compete, or anything along the process. You can either do it, type it in, or if you'd like to grab the mic, go for it, unmute yourself. Okay, well, if there's no questions, then I'm going to call it a night and wrap it up. I appreciate you tuning in and listening. Again, you can register to compete right now at nwontrep.com. Here's our contact information. I have this slide deck, and we'll send it out in email form for all those that registered tonight. So again, thank you for tuning in and participating, being interested in the Northwest Entrepreneur Competition. Hopefully I get to see you compete soon. Have a great night.